Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now we are from the first group. We will discuss about the internal processing in SLA subject from the task from Mrs. Afifah Raihani. Okay, well, the first, maybe we will introduce ourselves first. My name is Saiful Bahri.
And my name is Jumadi.
We will discuss about internal processing. Okay, the internal processing is the process of language which get outside and then process inside with the existing provisions. There are three processor in this internal processing. The first is filter, the second is organizer, and the third is monitor. And we will discuss it more later.
Okay, well, time to me about explanation what is the kind of internal processing, and then according Mr. Saiful just now, in the internal processing there are three kinds. The first is filter, and the second is organizer, and the last is monitor. Okay, I want to explain about the filter. What is the filter in the internal processing? Okay, the filter is the part of the internal processing system that subconsciously screens incoming language based on what psychologists call affect, the learner motivate, net attitude, and the emotional state. Okay, in the filter there are two kinds in the filter. The first is motivation, and the second emotional state. Okay. Continue about motivation. What is motivation in the second language acquisition? Might be thought of as the incentive, the need, or the desire that learner feel to learn the second language. There are three kinds of motivation affect language acquisition according to Gretner and Lambert. Okay, in motivation there are three kinds again. The first is integrative motivation, and the second instrumental motivation, and the last is social group identification. Okay, the next about emotional state in the filter. What is emotional state in filter? Okay, the first in emotional state is relaxation and anxiety. As we know that emotional state is the last answers the learner, the better language acquisition process. Relaxed and comfortable student can learn more shorter period of time, and then there are two kind of the relaxation at the emotional state. The first is relaxation, and the second anxiety.
Okay, maybe like this. In one of student, maybe he or she is relaxed, but someone else, he or she is anxiety. Like
yes,
this.
Like this.
Oh, okay. Okay, now about the organizer. The function is the first is the learner's gradual organization of the new language system, and the second is the cognitive principle. The cognitive principle here as the two analytical and logical criteria for the organization of knowledge and behavior. Okay, and now about in the organizer, usually there are three kinds of happen. The first is about transitional construction there are that learner use before a structure finally acquired. And the second is the errors. The errors is that systematically occur in learner's page. And the third is the common order in which mature structures are learned. And the next is about the transitional construction. The structures learners regularly use during acquisition of a particular language structures, and then it's the most important indicators of the organizer in controlling the language acquisition process. And the last is the development of these structures can be characterized by general linguistic principle. And now about the learner's error. Error here is the flawed side of learner's speech or writing. And the function of the learner's error is to indicate which part of the target language student have most difficulty and which error types detract learners' ability to communicate. And the types of learner errors is usually there are 6 kind of it. The first is omitting grammatical morpheme, and the second is double marking. The third is regularizing rules. The fourth is using RC forms. The fifth is using 2 or more forms in random alternation. And the last is about misordering. So the organizer is a guide for the acquisition process, limiting what can be learned to new material that into the growing organizations of the new language system. A regulatory mechanism which permits the gradual and systematical growth that has been observed for learner acquisition in the natural and formal setting. So the organizer is the part which its function is to make information can grow up before we tell it. Okay, next.
Okay, next again to me about the monitor. As we know that in the internal processing there are 3 explanations. The first is filter, and the second is organizer, and the last is monitor. Okay, I want to explain a little about what is the monitor in internal processing. Okay, monitor in internal processing is the part of learner internal systems that consciously process information, and there are kind of monitoring. There is four kind of monitoring. The first is learner age, and the second the amount of formal instruction experience, and the third is the task nature and focus on require, and the last is the individual personality. And in the monitor again there are a part. It is the monitoring and the onset of formal operation. What is it? It is the around puberty many adults can pass through a developmental state called formal operation, which also called as a formal thinker. Okay, I think it is a little explanation about what is the monitor.
Okay, maybe just it from us. We want to say thank you very much for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.